Welcome to the Honor It All podcast. I'm Honor Garrett, your host, and we're here to honor all that is good in the world. Each podcast, I interview top professionals around the globe who are making a difference, impacting lives, and creating positive change. Today, we have Kristin Barclay, a well-rounded brand marketer and storyteller with 20 concentrated years of leadership in online and offline marketing, e-commerce, and media spaces. She has made her mark coast to coast in companies such as Pottery Barn Kids and even starting her own company, Bow and Stern. Kristin is also the entrepreneurial mastermind behind Foodqu, something I can't wait for all of you to learn about today. But what I think makes Kristin so amazing is her creative mind and her love and passion to take on a new challenge. I'm so honored to have you here with me, Kristin, as part of the Honor It All podcast. Welcome. How are you?
I'm fantastic, Honor. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this is such a treat. I met Kristin on Clubhouse, and I think it's called the Kingdom Room, and she shared her vision and mission with something called Foodqu. And it sparked my curiosity, and I wanted to know more, so we got on the phone. And so now, Kristin, could you tell our listeners what is Foodqu?
Absolutely. So Foodquark's a couple different things. There's a philosophy side and there's the application side. So let me talk a little bit about the application side and then I'll back into the other one. So Foodquark is a new online / digital community focused around food with a specific purpose of connecting people around how they eat. So what we do, similar to like an Enneagram or a Myers-Briggs personality test, we developed a food personality test. And as you go through and answer questions about your approach to food, your likes, your dislikes, your aversions, potentially your allergies, really all of your quirks, you're provided a set of results, which we call your FQ. And that FQ is you through food. So it's kind of like your IQ, but it's your FQ. And that FQ gives you instant access to meal inspiration, recipes, product recommendations by others who eat just like you.
That's so amazing because I eat kind of strange. So it's really neat to be able to connect with people. It's actually social media with a real purpose and connection in mind.
Yeah, I mean, like in the industry, they call it like a vertical community, right? A vertical social media. And I try not to use the word social media because there's so many weird connotations with that.
Right.
So I'm using like, it's intentional social media, but it's basically you take one particular topic and you pull it out of the Instagrams, the Twitters, the Facebooks, and, because, if you're interested in food and you're going to Facebook or you're going to Instagram, like there's great content there, but you're like dodging other stuff, right? You're dodging political information, you're dodging tons of ads, and so this is like a very safe space just to talk about how we all eat differently, and that's okay. And that's kind of the philosophy thing about Foodqu and our vision. Like we are like ready to like get rid of the labels because like the traditional labels of, whether that's omnivore, carnivore, herbivore, vegan, vegetarian, keto, whatever. A lot of people these days are a combination of things, right? It's just one thing. And to be honest, I was having a hard time figuring out how to talk about how I eat. And so our goal is to just, get the judgments aside, get the labels aside, and really create a new language and an open dialogue around how we all eat. And that it's totally cool that you eat the way you eat, I eat the way I eat, and we all have a seat at the table.
It's really brilliant concept, I think, because maybe I just want a recipe, or I just want to share something that I made, and I can instantly connect with people that I know are my people. And
your food tribe, right? Like it's your food tribe, you know what I mean?
And the no blaming and no shaming is so huge because I go and I talk to a lot of people, and if they're vegan and I eat meat, whoa, that's not right. And so this is a beautiful place where you can all come, and it's just like, how do you nourish and heal your body?
Exactly.
How do you?
Food is so personal, right? Like it's so personal. What we choose to put in our own bodies or put on the plates of the people that we love, it's very personal. There's so many things that go into that, like how you were raised, your culture, your health, your accessibility, your ethics, there's just so many different things that go into that. And, it's just those labels haven't caught up with our as humans in terms of what we put in our bodies. And we just, number one, want to open up that conversation and say, like, it's okay. Like I call myself veganish because I eat mainly plant-based and vegan, but from time to time I'll indulge, or my indulgent, right? Like, and everyone's indulgent different. But for me, that means like when I'm back home in Rhode Island, I'm having some oysters, or if I've gone out to dinner with some friends and they ordered the cheese board, I'll nibble, and so I want to live in a place and a space where like that's okay, right? And I'm not getting a side eye or a judgment that like, well, you're not really vegan, Kristin. And I'm like, that's okay. I'm veganish. Just
well, how did you get the idea? Like, how did you get the idea for Foodqu? Was it born out of your own necessity because of something in your life, or was it just this aha moment you had?
It was definitely out of necessity for me. Two things. One, as I mentioned, I became vegan-ish about 4 or 5 years ago. And on that journey, I was, having to, tell people, because like whether we're going out to dinner or what have you, and I didn't want to be this like weird high maintenance person, right? And so, I was having a really hard time just like describing how I eat, because it wasn't like one thing or another. And so that was one piece, like just in application, being able to talk to people about like what to eat and how do I make that easy for other people if, I'm going to their house or we're going to dinner, what have you. And then secondly, at that same time, my kids were getting older. They were teenagers and having, minds of their own in terms of what they want to eat. So all of a sudden I had 4 people in my house that ate 4 different ways for a number of reasons, health, so I'm veganish. My husband, Mike, is, he always wants to be Tom Brady. So he tries to follow the TB12.
We all want to be Tom Brady,
right?
Or date him.
Yeah, I know. Move over, Giselle. And my daughter decided a couple years ago to stop eating meat. And then my son was just like, give it all to me, And I turned to my husband and I was like, I just want to put all of our preferences into Google and have it spit out what I can make for dinner. Because I don't want to be a short order cook. I don't want to like have to think about how I don't want to make, 4 different meals. And he's like, so why don't you do that? So
wow.
He literally and figuratively pushed me off the mountain or the cliff, because we were talking about it. We were in Colorado at the time skiing, and he's like, you have to do this. And that's what he said to me. So here we are.
Well, it's a big project. So, first of all, what have you done in your past, or have you done in your past that you feel like prepared you to be able to do this? Or were you just scared and did it anyway?
No, I really attribute a lot of my experiences to just getting to the point of like feeling like I could do this, right? And so I'm, by profession, a marketer at heart. I started actually in retail, if you can believe it, and then I quickly realized that there was this really cool thing called eCommerce, and so I was like, oh yeah, I want to be over there instead of like in a store or what have you. And so, I really kind of cut my teeth in a startup one of the first home furnishings e-commerce businesses that launched in 2000, 99 and 2000. And we were in DC at the time, and then we moved to Manhattan, and then we moved out to the Bay Area. And that was like, I want to do this. It was like that, just, and really understanding what it takes to actually get a startup off the ground. And then from there, I went to a completely different experience. I went to corporate America, still in San Francisco, but with Williams-Sonoma Inc., with Pottery Barn Kids. But I went into their e-commerce area. They were just launching e-commerce for all the brands. So, okay, so I went from a startup then to a legacy retailer that was wanting to go online. And so those two experiences
Wow.
really got me the bug and saw not only like where the world was going, but how you can extend a brand and extend an offering in a way that can be with a consumer no matter where they are. And that was just something that I loved. And so like that would like really instill the bug in me.
Well, I mean, you had to have brought tremendous value to Pottery Barn when they were just starting out, because, I'm older. I remember when nothing was online, and to have somebody come in and really help them and show them how to do that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, we all have the same amount of time in the day. We have the same amount of hours and minutes.
Right.
But I always say some people seem to get so much more done, have the superpower than others. And I kind of feel like you have a lot of balls in the air and you're doing so much. Like, do you have any suggestions for people out there to, how do you handle it all? Do you time block? What do you do?
That's a great question. And I feel like everyone is so different. I have it so I'm a Virgo, so perfection is like my game, and planning is my game. But it's, and to be honest, I work a full-time job. This is my side hustle. So I work a full-time job, and this is something that, is a passion of mine. And, so, for me, it's about just being very intentional with my time each week, and having the patience to know that this is going to take a little bit. It's not going to happen overnight. Right. But I think that's the hard thing for me, because I want to I see exactly where it should be, and it's going to take a little while to get there. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I think time blocking is really important. And, we all have so many things in our lives. Thankfully, I just try to keep things prioritized, and so I put, I fit Foodqu in where I can, time block things just for me. And it seems to be working.
That's cool. Well, as a health, life, and mindset coach, I really believe your health is so important to success. Right. I mean, 100%, because number one, if you're not taking care of your body, then you're not going to succeed in other areas of your life. And if you by chance do, you won't be able to enjoy it. Right?
Exactly. And it won't be sustainable.
Right. So I love that you're bringing food to the table and talking about different ways and how different people do different things. Because when I meet with a client, every single person is absolutely individual. Whether they're allergic to something, or whether they're sensitive to something, whether they have a preference for this, whether they have a religious belief, whatever it is, and how I'm excited where I can incorporate it with my clients and have them take the test and figure out, I'm not just doing this program that I have, I'm tailoring it around what you like. And then also being able to use Foodqu, just the everyday person, being able to have it. What about when you have a dinner party and two of the people eat completely different?
Absolutely.
Or you eat different. How do you handle that when you go? How do you graciously handle that when you go to someone's house who's made this big meal, but there's almost nothing you can eat that they've prepared?
Yeah, it's funny. That tends to happen when and we go back home for Mike, he's from Pennsylvania, and they like their meat there.
Yes, they do.
But it's funny. I feel like it's actually more of my responsibility versus the host. Like I've kind of like in my mind kind of flipped it a little bit, where if I'm invited to dinner, I'm proactively saying, hey, I'm so sorry, but I'm the high maintenance one. I just don't eat, whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been more proactive with that and having that dialogue. And it kind of comes from the whole mission of just wanting to like, it's okay to be that way. It's okay to talk about it, but it's also you assume that other people are going to ask, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it's funny. It's interesting. I was looking up, I don't know if you've ever heard of human design.
I have actually.
Well, and I don't know much about it, but I was reading about it and I found out that I'm a manifester. There are 4 different things.
Yep.
And it says the one thing that I need to do to get what I want in life is I need to inform people first. And as a manifestor, I don't like to inform people because I like to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I'm afraid if I inform somebody, they're going to say, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, wait. Right. And so, so manifestors tend to be a little sneaky because they they just want to do it.
Right.
And so I think that's such great advice because when I'm going to someone's house now, I say, I know you're making a beautiful meal, but I actually have a restricted diet. I can even blame it on the doctor or whatever. Absolutely. I have a restricted diet. Yeah. So please don't be offended by what I eat or don't eat. And I really appreciate you going to all this trouble. And when you inform them ahead of time, then they'll probably say, but what can I make you? Right.
Yeah. And it just tears down that wall immediately, and it sets the host up for success as well, and the same thing like for going out to dinner, so it's funny because when we moved, we live in Virginia Beach, we're in Norfolk now, but we're in that. When we moved here, actually Tamara Andrus and her husband invited us to dinner because their kids go to the school where my husband is the principal, and she asked, she was like, so do you have any preferences? And I was like, you can do it with restaurants too. And I think a lot of people are starting to get in the habit of asking that. But just imagine if you, instead of saying that, be like, hey, Kristin, what's your FQ? Just so I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the vision that we see, so like if you're having that dinner party, if I'm the host, I'm gonna be like, hey guys, can you just shoot me all your FQs?
That's awesome.
And then
you can go from there. And for just the fact that people can discuss it. And then also, what's your vision, or do you have a long-term vision of, having cooking shows? Do you see it with people just sharing information, sharing recipes?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're trying to be an intentional user-led brand. So we're starting out with recipes, meal inspiration, products, but we're constantly asking our users what they're wanting, because a whole slew list of things we do, right? And yes, is there like virtual cooking shows and lessons and and meetups and conversations like this? Absolutely. Like all of those can be built
right
platform. But we want to prioritize it based on what our users are asking for. But the long-term vision is that your FQ lives on your phone, and right. A flow code or a QR code, and you can integrate it with your Grubhub. You could integrate it, with your healthcare provider. You could send it off to, your daughter's college, so they know how she eats. If you have a babysitter coming, here's how my child eats. There's just, I think that the whole goal is that you should be able to have that FQ anywhere you go to have an experience through food. Like that's the long-term, like BHAG vision.
Right. Well, I'm thinking just plug it into, my online grocery shopping
Exactly.
and ideas come up of things that I
Mhm.
can do and things like that. So
Yeah.
I just think that's so exciting. And, so whether you're a foodie, all foodies should be on it, but really if you eat, and we all do,
That's the
so
thing, right?
everybody should be on it because it just helps open conversation and sparks creativity. And
Yeah.
wow. Well, so tell me, it may be a food court thing or it may be something else,
Mhm.
but I really believe that, we've all learned the most out of some of our worst or biggest failures.
Yep.
And so, what's the biggest life lesson that you've learned that's been helpful for you?
That it's okay to trip, right? So, honestly, I just had one of the biggest ones in the last 30 days. Like we launched beta at the end of June, and had a bunch of people come in, and we had the strategy to actually start PR at that point. And we felt the product was good, and one of the strategies was to have a lot of editors or reporters actually take the quiz and join the community early, kind of like early access for the media. And it blew up in my face.
Okay.
We weren't ready. We got more users in there, and there were some pretty big bugs, and so the lesson that I learned is that, to hold back as much as you can, really feel good about the product before you open it up to the world. And, I think the strategy was great on paper, but in execution, it made us vulnerable. And so,
well, and we get so excited about what we're passionate about. And I really encourage people, it's okay.
yeah.
You know what? You probably learned more from that to make the next time like 10 times as good as it would have been had you not had that. So, I mean, I think people, it's a great thing for people to see there. And, there might be some listeners out there listening to this and they think, wow, this is such a great idea. I have a great idea for something, but, they're just so fearful of stepping out or doing something different. Do you have any advice for somebody who just has a great idea and they don't know what to do with it?
It's scary. It's a human, like, kind of the fight or flight, right? Kind of thing. And you have something like that. And it's almost, so my husband right now is a head of school for a Quaker school. And so they do what they call meeting for worship. And meeting for worship is basically all the kids get in a room and they're absolutely silent. Like no one talks. And you can only talk once you're moved to talk, whatever that is, greater universe, your inner light, and they have this saying that it's either you stand up or you throw up. Something in there, right? Like that you want to get off your chest. And it's the same thing with entrepreneurship, honestly. Like you have this, you have this idea. It seems really good and you're scared to do it. But if you don't stand up and at least try, then you may have missed a moment, right? But I think for me, what helped me get to where I felt confident enough to work through it is I have two very good friends who are my mentors who are out back in California. They're very successful. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm going to pitch them. And I told them, I said, the only thing I want to hear at the end is either you're crazy and pack it in or keep going. And they said, keep going. And so
that's awesome.
Got me a little more confidence. And then I kept going to more trusted people and doing the same thing. So it was like that, just kind of a repetitive nature of making yourself vulnerable, right? And if you get enough, keep going. It helped me, and I think it can help people.
Yeah, it's such a balance between following your passion and also having the wisdom to receive advice from people that you trust.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a beautiful dance, because sometimes if they said no, would you have not done it, or would you have still done it?
Right. Yeah, I think, these people that I talked with, whether it was my mentors or, trusted friends and, previous working relationships, I knew that they would say, maybe, somewhere in between, not to make me feel better, but more like I just know I would have gotten the real truth from them.
That's awesome.
Or they would have suggested, like, there's something there, Kristin, but I don't know if that's the right application or something like that, And so, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned, that I've just had to be a really good listener, but also to keep intentional in what I believe is the right thing.
Well, I love the stand up or throw up.
Isn't that great?
I've never heard that, but like, that's so real. It's like,
right? It is.
And you might do both, actually.
Right. You could absolutely do both. But it's that feeling, that you get, that you're like, oh, like, I either have something to say or I have something to do. And I think in this world, like, we are called in many different ways, and entrepreneurship is definitely one of them.
Well, I think so many people spend their life thinking, I've got to find my purpose. What is my purpose?
Yeah.
And honestly, I really try to tell people, what do you value? What lights you up? What are you passionate about? Because you don't have to have the destination goal, everything figured out so it looks like this pretty package.
Right.
Just follow and be curious in the direction of what you're passionate about. And it may not really look like what you exactly thought it was going to look like, but you obviously are passionate about Foodqu because you have a busy schedule and you're figuring out how to fit it in, and it's probably not even work. Like, you're excited about it, right?
Most times, yeah. There are, and I think the other part of entrepreneurship is, you wake, at least for me, I wake up every day and yes, I'm excited because, like, things are moving, but it's also scary because I'm the only one who's, like, responsible. Yes, do I have, like, an amazing group of people around me kind of obviously helping, but at the end of the day, if I don't continue to initiate, it's not going to move forward. So it's an awesome responsibility. That for me, I have to kind of I check myself a lot to make sure that it's not kind of overpowering me, and kind of just keeping it, at arm's length instead of it being a part of me. It's kind of like, because I work from home a lot, and I mean, you do too. And it's like, where that work, it bleeds into your personal life, right?
Yes.
Turn it off. I've had to be very intentional of, like, I only do work in this room, right? Like, so if I'm the other part of the house, I'm not in work mode. But it's with entrepreneurship, it's like, it's always there, right? And so
it's always there. I mean, my husband is like, okay, you can turn it off now. You promised me you were going to set hours. And then it's funny because when you're an entrepreneur, you feel like, well, I need to be there in case somebody needs me, or there's a million things to do, but it's like that in any business. And so we really have to, like, balance. How do you take care of yourself, or what are other things that are really important to you in your life, in your, or hobbies, or I know you have a beautiful family.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have to exercise every morning. That just, like, sets my mind, sets my intention. gets me going. That is really important. And I had the most beautiful experience today. I'll just share real quick. Like I went for my run and we live near the water, and it's called the, like an outlook kind of place where you go and the water's there. And that's where like I could turn around. Right. And so I went and I had the dog with me, and it was like silent. Like it was just like, it is like a placid kind of water. And all of a sudden just one dolphin was like, poop.
Oh, so beautiful.
And it was just, I don't know, it was, so it's like those moments are really important to me. And I've done that since my kids were little. And so they, I think just having some of those things that they know are important to you, again, to like, mom has to put the oxygen mask on before she can put it on for anybody else. Like that for me is like absolute. So for sure, time in the morning to run. Sleep is huge for me. I'm a power sleeper. I have to have 8 hours or I don't function well. It's just who I am. And then just time with my family, and so like, I really try not to work, between like 5 and 8, because that's just like,
Right.
As the house is buzzing, things are happening, and that's when you pick up what's going on, and so.
I'm actually going to probably vacuum my house after this. It's Friday. I need to clean before the weekend. So, it's interesting. But, so, I mentioned to you before that my husband is a football coach, and I honestly think that leading a team is literally his genius. It just comes natural. He can get up in front of a team and just roll off a speech off his tongue. Like you're like, how do you do that? And he doesn't even, but what would you say is your genius?
Oh my God, that's such a good question. It's definitely working with people. I think that the piece that's really served me well through my career and my personal relationships is that I'm a really good empath. I empathize. I can put myself in other people's shoes, and so I use that in a way to really understand where that person's coming from, so that no matter what we're doing, whether it's I'm trying to get someone to do something, meaning like, a job or whatever, or it's my son in the next room who, needs to clean his room. I'm really good at connecting people.
Yeah.
Making people talk the same language. That's what I'm best at. And
that's why Foodqu is going to be so amazing, because that's what you're doing. So that's really great. So, is there anything else you want to share about Foodqu that we didn't bring up? I'd love for you to share anything else that you want to share, or how will people know when it's ready and when they can jump in and get involved?
So if you just go to foodqu.com, we're taking reservations for early access. That's the best way to just get your name on the list. You'll get like actually a seat number, which is kind of fun. And we are letting people in all the time. The other thing is to definitely follow us on Instagram. We're having a lot of fun over there, and we're showing a lot of content that's actually in Foodqu, so people can get an idea of the kind of information and people that they'll have access to. So we're on Instagram at food.quirk. And those are the two biggest things right now.
Well, I'll tell everybody, all the listeners, I'll have all the information under the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or it's on Apple, Spotify. So if you want to get in touch with Kristin or Foodqu, it'll be just a click away. And, maybe you have a question for her. Or as it grows, you might even have positions of people wanting to do things for Foodqu, or I would love to do a class. I would do a food class or a health class just for fun. Right. But I'm so glad that you came on today. And I end every single podcast with the same question for every guest. So this podcast is called the Honor It All podcast. So what are you choosing to honor today?
I love this question. And I'm actually honoring my dad today. My dad passed away almost 20 years ago. And one of the other reasons that I did start Foodqu or I went on the plant-based journey is because I have a heart condition, and he did too. And I am a much healthier version today because of what he did for us, and the education that I have now, in terms of how food can be medicine. And when I say there's many people that keep pushing me in the right direction, he's one too. There are a lot of signs in this universe that I know are because of him, and he continues to open doors for me. So I'd like to honor him.
That is absolutely beautiful. And it's a perfect way to complete this episode, guys, with Kristin Barclay. Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you, Honor, so much. You're amazing. I appreciate this opportunity, and I just love that we're getting to know each other. So thank you.
Well, I'm excited. I know this is just the beginning. And until next time, remember, everyone, we are not promised tomorrow. So be present today. It is the gift, and take time to honor it all.